Ooh-wee. I heard there's somebody up here in a box somewhere trying to check out what's happening up here this Friday night.
Oh yeah, we're trying to figure out why this music is bumping the way it is. Oh yeah. Hey now, Cheryl James here. And the reason that music is killing the way it is because Hot Wax Productions is in the house. Oh yeah, Stacy Hot Wax Hale, DJ Haru, and DJ Daryl G gonna be bringing you the sounds all evening to make sure you keep that groove going. Now, how's my family doing out there? The Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers is back. I have truly missed each and every one of you. You just don't know. And I wish I could reach out and touch you. I definitely can't see you because I'm trapped in this box. But that too shall pass, okay? I want to tell everybody that's here for the first time, hello, welcome, we love you, and we are so glad you decided to spend this evening with us. And to everybody, have a wonderful, wonderful holiday. Happy Juneteenth. Let's all celebrate and be free. Okay? Now, while you're out there celebrating, anybody having any watch parties? Because those can be fun, you know. But the only thing you have to remember, social distancing is still in play. Don't get played now. If you can't separate, then don't be together. Okay? But if you have to, call your friends, call your family, shoot, call your neighbors. Invite everybody to come join us and party with us on this celebration this evening. Oh yeah! I think I feel my groove coming back. I'll see you in a second. Hey, Stacy.
Yeah. You still up there in that box?
Yeah, girl. I'm still trapped in this box. But now I've been sitting here long enough to wonder what everybody's doing out there to come to get their party on. How you all partying this evening? You got your drinks? What you doing? What you drinking? hit me on that chat box and let me know what you up to. Let me know what you're drinking. Anybody got any edibles laying around? That's cool. If you do, that's all right. That's okay. You do you. Hit me up on the chat box and let me know really how you're partying this evening. And you know, you can talk to us at any time you want. Get your drink on. Do all those things that make you feel good. But I can't stop this groove that I got going here. I gotta go back again. I'll see you again in a minute. People starting to talk to me. All right, everybody, I'm back again. I gotta rest now because I've been partying. Thank you for popping in, folks. I see T Brown popped in. I wonder if that T Brown is my nephew Terry from California. At any rate, they are drinking Salt of the Earth Moscato Rubino for starters. Markiba, Irene Garza, they are excited as I don't know what to be here, and I'm excited as I don't know what to have you here, ladies. Hang in here with us. It's going to be a great night. Now, I've given everybody plenty of time to get it together, okay? Gather your drinks, gather all your little goodies, get your drinks, get your eats, and get your whatever, your edibles, get your smoke on, do what you gotta do, because now it's time to get ready. The chat button is there. Talk to me. I will be here throughout, in and out, talking to you. Happy Juneteenth. Everybody party like you ain't never had a party before. Let's be free, because the secret society of Twisted Storytellers is ready to start the show.
Welcome to the secret society of Twisted Storytellers. Here, there are no passwords, no velvet ropes, no locked doors or secret knocks. You need only be human to connect, heal, and transform. Before written language, stories were passed down from generation to generation through storytelling, song, and dance. Stories make us laugh and cry and grow. Stories can heal. They heal the storyteller and the story listener. Listening is a generosity, a human kindness, a revolutionary act. And at the highest level, listening is love. We are all unique and just a little bit twisted. We all have a story to tell. Now, are you ready to hear a secret?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers, our first virtual event. My name is Satori Shakur, and I am your host, and I am so excited. We missed you so much. Thank you, Stacy Hot Wax Hale, for the sounds. Cheryl! And anyway, thank you everybody in the Zoom room who got your spots early. Hello, we'll be chatting with you in the chat box. And thank you for everybody else around the world who is watching on YouTube Live from our website, twistedtellers.org. Hit the live button, and on Facebook Live. Well, if you don't know what the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers is, we are a curated, alive storytelling show where real people tell their true and personal stories live on stage every third Friday at the Charles Wright Museum of African American History in Midtown Detroit, Michigan. Now, before COVID, we would pack ourselves into that beautiful General Motors Theater. We'd be crying and laughing over stories and storytellers. We'd be breathing on each other, hugging on each other. But we can't do that now because of the social distancing. But our mission is to connect, heal, and transform through the art and craft of storytelling. And we believe that your story and storytelling has the power to touch, move, and inspire everywhere anyone is listening, even on the other side of a computer screen. Now, I am always amazed at how many people have never been to a storytelling show. So if you have never been to a storytelling show, hit us up in the chat box so we can see you and acknowledge you. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, and now, and if you have been to a storytelling show, what do we call our first timers? Hit it. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Virgins. Yeah, virgins. Here at the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers, we offer you a second chance to get it right. And we guarantee that when you leave here tonight, your hyphen will still be intact. Now I know that's a corny joke, but I still like saying it. Now, we were on track to partner with DTE Foundation in their initiative to motivate and inspire Black men to be counted in the 2020 census. And then COVID came, and we had to refund all of those tickets. Oh my God, that hurt my heart. But we observed the social distancing, and after 2 months, we saw people, we lose people in the community. If you've lost somebody, put it in the chat box so we can acknowledge that. We've overcome, we've had our essential workers go, we've had every manner of thing has happened. And we thought to ourselves, hey, we have to continue our mission. So we called DTE Foundation up again and said, hey, I think we can do this virtually. And they said, okay. So we are so thankful to have DTE Foundation partner with us, sponsor this event, and we wouldn't be coming here otherwise. So let me introduce Jacob R. Walker from DTE Foundation. Happy Father's Day, Jacob, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Satori. I appreciate it. So first and foremost, I want to thank Satori and the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers for having us here in this opportunity. The foundation is proud to partner with you in this work. The foundation supports the global mission that you all have to connect humanity, heal, and transform through the art of storytelling. And like you already said, the pandemic, we were ready in March to launch with this, but we happened to come to you in a different way. But we're still thankful for your support in this event. First order of business, people, I have to say hi to someone special, and that's my daughter, Avery. Usually this time of the evening, we Skype, we talk. She lives out of state, but because of the pandemic, I haven't been able to see her. So Avery, if you're watching, Daddy loves you, and I'll be with you soon. Next, I want to send regards from the DTE Foundation, from our chairman of the foundation, Nancy Moody, and Lynette Dollar, our president. Both of these individuals support the work that we're doing here, and we envision a growing partnership as we move forward. Nancy always encourages us to lead with our heart. So Nancy and Lynette, if you're listening, we heard you, and we will. I also want to thank a few other people, and that's Alante Steele of the Hooligans. He's here with us tonight. Yodeep Masepin Johnson of New, Orlando Bailey of Bridge Detroit, and Stephen Welch from Detroit. This was a part of our original lineup, but because of COVID and the pandemic, we had to go in a different direction. These individuals are doing the work in the community. They love Detroit and they love Michigan, and I just wanted to acknowledge them, and hopefully we can bring them to you soon. So tonight's show is about the 2020 census and Black men. And so some might ask, why are we focusing on Black men? And hopefully by the end of this program, you'll understand why. African-American men and Black men have historically been undercounted in the census, more than any other racial ethnic group. And there are a number of reasons why, and we're going to talk about some of those tonight. So to all the men out here in the sound of my voice, particularly the Black men, we count, we matter, and we are valued. So with that said, back to you, Satori, and thank you again for coming tonight.
Yes, and thank you, Jacob. We are so excited to bring you this event, Black Men Count, on Juneteenth. Juneteenth, where in Detroit, we've been celebrating all week long with festivities, virtual events, and so we're proud to be part of that celebration. Now, Juneteenth is the holiday that Donald Trump made famous. And the reason he made it famous is because he found out about it a couple days ago. So you can make it famous too, because I'm going to help you out. I'm going to tell you a little short story. Now, first of all, Juneteenth had been a big celebration for decades and decades. And over the years, it kind of faded away. It wasn't as prominent as a holiday. But it all started on June 19th, 1865. It was 2 years after Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, freeing all the enslaved people. Now, there was a Major General Garver Gordon or something like that. He was with the Union Army. He landed in Galveston, Texas, and announced the news. The Civil War has been over for 2 years. Slavery is over. Black people, you free. Now, mind you, that the black people who lived near the Union line, Union border, they didn't wait for a piece of paper. They freed themselves. They were already 2 years in discovering what freedom was. But it took a little longer to get down to Galveston, Texas. But when the black people found out they were free, they partied just like Prince told us to, like it was 1865. And the next day, they set out to find their families and freedom. Well, the white people didn't like that. Oh, no, not them plantation owners. That was like watching Wall Street crash and too big to fail, fail. That was their economy marching off into the sunset. So there was a lot of pushback. I mean, a lot of pushback, a lot of resistance. And it took 100 years until 1964 to get the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Act. I was just a kid in 1967 when the Detroit uprising was over police brutality. I was an artist and an activist in 1992 in Los Angeles with the Rodney King uprising. And year after year after year, I would see execution, execution after execution, not guilty after not guilty after not guilty, until finally, George Floyd. The public execution of George Floyd brought the world to their knees in a way that COVID couldn't. Brought the world to its knees and poured out of their homes into the streets in protest because a human being was killed right in front of them. I mean, it took 400 years for people to listen and get present to what black people and black men had been telling the stories since we were brought to the shores in 1619 and were enslaved. It took 400 years, 8 minutes and 46 seconds for the world to see what COVID was showing us. That black men did not count, black lives do not matter, black men have a target on their back, and black people are being murdered just for being black. Oh, but I have hope. Oh my God, I have so much hope. When I saw those people pouring out of their houses all over the world, white, black, young, old, George Floyd, everybody was pouring out. And I felt so hopeful because finally the world was listening. And listening is a human kindness. It's a generosity. It's listening grants being to another's experience. Listening is a revolutionary act. And at the highest level, listening is love. So ladies and gentlemen, tonight, we're going to hear the stories of 4 dynamic, diverse black men. We're going to hear their stories, their experience, as only a black man can tell the story. We're going to hear how they count, the kind of impact they have because they count. We're going to hear about how important it is for them to be counted in the census. And actually, by being counted in the census is a demonstration of activism. So, are you ready for your first storyteller? So I always ask the storytellers a question before I introduce them. And I asked the first storyteller of the evening, why do black men count? In a sentence or two. And he said, black men count because throughout the history of the United States, we have been subtracted from the family. We have to change the math and add ourselves back into the equations. Ladies and gentlemen, put your virtual hands together for a regular here at the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers, Maxie Jones.
One Saturday afternoon in 2017, Donald Trump had just recently been elected president, and we were living in a very racially sensitive environment. I was driving east on I-94, headed back toward Detroit. I had just left Olivet, Michigan, and I was somewhere between Olivet and Ann Arbor. I saw a car pulled over on the side of the road, and just ahead of it were 5 people, looked like 5 adults, walking toward the next exit from the car. And I was in this minivan, I was by myself, and I said, you know, I could pick them up. And I thought about it for a moment. Then my black male senses kicked in, and I said, hell no, I ain't stopping to pick up 5 white folks out here in Trump America. So I kept going. But just as I passed them, I could see it was 5 black folks. And so I pulled over. I was like, oh no, I got to pick them up, because if something happens to them, then I'm going to feel responsible. So I stopped and I thought about it for a moment. I had gotten well ahead of them, so I had to back up to get them. But I didn't start backing up right away because I thought about it. I mean, I didn't want to pick up 5 black folks neither, because I'm thinking they could be gang members or their car just broke down. I might get carjacked. I was trying to think of any reason not to pick them up. As a matter of fact, if it were today, I would have said, no, it's a pandemic. I'm not picking up 5 people. I'm gone. But then I negotiated with myself and I was like, okay, I could pick them up. So I put the car in reverse and I backed up really slowly. And I backed up slowly because I was afraid. My hands were sweaty. My heart was beating fast. And at any moment, I was ready to pop the car back into drive and pull away. But as I got closer, I could see in my rearview mirror that it was a mother and her 5 children. So I was like, oh, okay. I felt some sort of relief. And I was glad I stepped up to the responsibility, because there was no father. There was just a mother and 5 children. And as I got closer to them, I could see they were looking at me suspiciously as well, because they were probably wondering who I was. And they had to look like, nah, man, we'll walk. But anyway, I stopped. I didn't get too close to them. I stopped and I got out so that they could see who I was. And the mother said, oh, thank God you're black. We were just thinking it was some white man going to pick us up and take us somewhere we didn't want to go. So I was like, nope, get in the car. So they got in the car. And as I was walking around, I stopped and I said, whew, that was scary. I got in the car and started driving. And the mother said, thank you so much for picking us up. And I said, no problem. That's what we're supposed to do. She said, who? I said, black folks. We see black folks on the side of the road. You pick them up, especially way out here in no man's land. She said, are you a pastor or something? And she doesn't know that that's my pet peeve, is somebody thinking that I have to be of some religious sect in order to do a good deed. And I just said, no, I'm a black man and you're a black family. And that's why I picked you up. She's like, no, but you got to be a deacon or a minister or something. And her son yelled from the back seat, Ma, he picked us up because he's black. That's why. And we're a black family. And she just got quiet. So I offered her AAA. I said, I got AAA and we could get your car off the side of the road. And she's like, no, thank you. I said, well, y'all need money. She said, you sure you're not a pastor? And at that moment, I just became so irritated with her. And I'm thinking to myself, here you were, a mother with your 4 children on the side of the road, and a man, not a man of any stature or of any religious sect, just a man stopped to pick you up. And you don't even seem to really appreciate it. And that just irritated me so much that I just wanted to get to the next exit and get them out of my car. So I got to the next exit. We pulled to a gas station. And as they got out, all the children in the car said, thank you, mister, thank you. And I said, you're welcome. And then I asked her, I said, is there anything else you need before I drive off? And she said, no. She said, but I'd just like to pay you for what you've done. And I said, nope, because if you pay me, then I haven't really done anything for you. And she looked at me again, and I was waiting for her to ask me that question again, but she didn't. She just shook her head and got out the car. And I drove off. And when I drove off, I said, I can live with myself, because I felt like, at least for today, I stood up to my responsibility and I did what I could when I could. And honestly, I was happy to know that I didn't let my people down today.
Thank you, Maxie. Thank you, Maxie, so much for that story. Wow. We're going to meet Maxie, and we're going to meet our other special guests. We're going to come back with Jacob Walker, Eric Thomas, and Alante Steele and hear their stories. But first, we're going to hear how you can tell your story at the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers. Monica? Monica, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You can't see me yet?
Can't see you.
there I
There
am.
she is. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Zoom. We have some glitches, so that's the nature of the beast. So bear with us, and we'll keep it moving.
It happens. Hey, Twisted fam, we've missed you so much, and I'm here with exciting news. So we know everybody has a story to tell. Well, now you have an opportunity to tell yours on a future Twisted Storyteller show. Here's how it works. From now until July 31st, post on your Facebook or Instagram page about something profound that happened during the coronavirus pandemic. Say, for example, you're a baker and you normally bake as a hobby, but now you turned it into a business. Or maybe you actually had the coronavirus and you had to battle your way back to good health. Maybe you were a frontline worker and you spent days away from your family. Or maybe you were an activist protesting and marching to create change. Whatever your story is, we want to hear it. So you can post a written story or you can post a video of yourself telling the story. Just be sure to use the hashtag Twisted Storyteller Challenge and tag the Twisted Storyteller social media page. Then a panel of judges will review all submissions and one or more lucky winners will be chosen and featured in the future Twisted Storyteller show. So you can visit our website at twistedtellers.org for more information. We cannot wait to hear your stories. So until then, be safe, be well, and as always, be twisted. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you, Monica. All right, we're going to meet our other storytellers. First of all, we met Maxie Jones. Can we see Maxie Jones here? And joining him is Jacob Walker. We've met Jacob. And Alante Steele. And Eric Thomas. Can we get all the gentlemen on the screen so we can see the, yes, look at these beautiful, handsome men, you guys. All right, so Alante Steele says that Black men count because we are a force when we work together and we make sure our families are taken care of. We have been undercounted for years, and our creativity and hard work needs to be accounted for. Alante, can you tell us a little bit about you and why you are telling this story as why Black men count?
Hope everyone is doing well this evening. I am a young man under the age of 30, and I just feel like within my community, it is hard to point out the people that are genuine about building within the community. So it's all about making sure that correct energy is around you. When I have my friends and my peers around me, I make sure we have the right energy in our mind, and our work ethic is for the better, and for the better of our community, and for the better of ourselves at the end of the day. And when we work together, everything is better at the end of the day. I remember when I was down by myself, just being in a dark place, and I didn't know how to get out of it. But it took for me to start by working with a business partner as such, like my brother, and just get out of that hole and work together and be able to make things better as a team.
All right, Alante, we're gonna come back and engage with you some more with your storytelling. Okay, Jacob Walker, you said Black men count because we have so much to give. You want to tell us a little bit about what Black men count and what you have to give?
So just speaking of my life, and right now, I'm really thinking about my dad right now. And his flag is behind me. He served this country well in military service and even beyond. And for just when you asked that question, my mind kind of went to him. And my dad literally gave everything till he couldn't give anymore. He left this earth when he didn't have the ability to stand physically, is when he left. And I think men will give, particularly in our community, we give until we have nothing left. And there's so many examples that I think of him that he gave his community. I'll tell you a quick story. My dad was an electrician by trade, and I carry his journeyman's card everywhere I go. It's the one of the two keepsakes that I have for him, along with the flag. And it's a funny story, but my dad in the neighborhood, people knew he was an electrician. So anytime there was an electrical work at the house, they would come call upon my dad, and he would give. if he didn't really charge anybody anything, only thing he would charge if he had something, if he needed to buy something else that he didn't have. Other than that, he did it for free. For some reason, our next door neighbor, who was female, she was a small woman, she wanted a motion light outside her house. This is way back in the day. And he put one up for her. And so she would drive up to the driveway to the house, the light would come on. No problem, until one day, my mother's in the kitchen and she could see out the backyard, and the neighbor pulled up and the light came on and she drove in the garage. Then my dad just happened to walk in the room and I was with it. And she told him, it's a shame, I'm married to the electrician and I don't have a motion light in my yard. Well, guess what? The next day, my mother had a motion light in the top of her garage. So, but again, just at this time, my thoughts go to my dad and what he gave to this world and what he gave to me.
Well, thank you, and thank your dad for his service to America. And we have to be careful about giving too much. We have to balance ourselves. But I like a giving man, okay? Eric Thomas, when asked the question what black men, why do black men count? I was watching Eric's Twitter feed. And I saw Eric say, I am jonesing to be back on stage. So I suppose black men count because they have something important to say. How you doing, Eric?
I'm
Eric
fantastic.
is the chief storyteller for the city of Detroit.
Such a dramatic title. You are the chief storyteller of the city of Detroit. I am just an understudy. You know, I think when I think about why black men count, I think it's because though we are often underestimated, we often excel. If you look at just the general creative force and capital that black men and black people have really brought to America, it is usually from the people that you don't expect. It's not from the good blacks, right? It's from the Rick James and for the young Jesus, from the people that you wouldn't hire that create the culture that you consume. And so even when you remove all the resources, all the opportunities, you know, yet and still we rise. And so that has always been something that inspired me. It's why I don't necessarily code switch as much as one would expect. And why I get more and more gangster when I get in corporate settings, and I get more and more corporate when I get in gangster settings, to remind people that you don't have to be what you're expected to be great. And so that's what I think about when I think about black men. All
right, well, you kind of remind me of Killer Mike, but like a little Killer Mike.
I'm the tiny
light-skinned Killer Mike.
Like a violent Sam. You know?
All right, so Maxie, I mean, your story, you know, there was a lot in your story. I mean, some parts I cringed at the stereotypes and just related to picking people up. But do we have to negotiate race in every single thing we do, even in our impulses to be kind, to reach out and help people?
Yeah, because every day, all through the day, all through our lives, we're always concerned about our own safety. And it's never anything that anyone's going to do to us, but it's always someone's fear of us that could land us either in prison or dead, you know. And it's interesting, like what Eric said just a moment ago, you know, anyone you hear, like I listen to people use slang all the time in professional meetings and stuff, and you know that some black kid somewhere 20, 30 years ago created that slang, and now people are using it in professional settings. You know, black men have counted in so many different ways. When they built the prisons, black men counted to keep the industry going. When they want to sell clothing or sell anything in any neighborhood, that's when black men count. You know, we count when it's not good for us. And so we're in control, or it's our duty to make ourselves count where it does help us and our families.
Yes, yes. So I can't see the way the audience is seeing, but are all the men on the screen? Because I really want y'all to engage in this conversation. So it was occurring to me, you know, I've been thinking a lot of course, about race and racism all the time. I mean, as an African American, I'm always thinking about that. But really, since the whole world is really having this conversation, and that was one of the things we've always wanted to do, have a conversation about race. Now we're having a conversation about race. And so let's put it all on the table. You know, when I think about race and racism, I think how deeply embedded it is into our economic model, and how policing is built into our economic model to sort of manage the bodies and the lives of Black people. And it seems that if we can manage the bodies and the lives of Black people, then we can keep this capitalism kind of thing going where there's more for us. Now, what COVID pulled back the curtain and pulled down the mask on was the disparities, the injustices, the inequities in all of our systems. So it seems to me that if we're going to really take this conversation seriously, not just the cosmetic stuff, but that we really have to look at some fundamental changes, that we have to look at these infrastructures that are designed to deliver the same outcomes over and over again, which always are going to have Black people and people of color in a certain bracket, income wise, opportunity wise, health wise, and every social and criminal justice wise. What do you guys think about that?
No, I'll take the first stab at it, Satori. So if you look in history, the term Black was created to kind of regulate us to a bottom caste. And that's just the reality. Most people identify by the country of their origin, which is, I'm Europe, I'm from Italy, or I'm Italian, or Brazilian. But we were brought to this country and enslaved because Black kind of regulated us to a bottom caste. And quite frankly, if you look at his history, we've been at that bottom caste for some time. And a few of us have worked hard and done what we could, and we were the exception. We made it out. But your life shouldn't be looked at that way. Life should be here in America about if you work hard, apply yourself, you get the fruit at the end of the game. You should get all the rewards. But in some cases, and I recognize myself as an anomaly, most men in my neighborhood did not make it out. I was talking to a good friend of mine recently, and we were actually burying one of our other friends, and we just looked at each other and talked, and we just had a moment where we just thought, like, man, we're one of the few that made it out of our community, and we're doing okay, because a lot of them didn't. And so, going back to what you were just talking about, how we're regulated in that sense. I mean, I just have to always remember, like, I'm blessed to be where I'm at, but I have a responsibility to go back and help others, motivate others, give back to my community, and give back to the brotherhood that I found so much value in my life.
Okay, anybody else?
I feel like it's crazy because when we had the small conversation, I just feel like whenever I'm out in traffic now, I drive a black Monte Carlo, limo tint, 5% tint, and I don't like to be seen when I'm in traffic. For one, I don't want the police to see me, see a young black man, assume whatever they're going to assume and pull me over for whatever the case may be. My insurance good, my plates are good, but whenever I see the police, I still tighten up, I tense up, I just feel some type of way. And I just be like, I hope they don't slide my way or just bother me today. You know what I'm saying? But as a black man, I remember I was just sitting with a friend the other day, and he was having a conversation, and he was like, there was a protest going on. He was, somebody was asking, are you going to the protest? He was like, no, I'm not going, man. He was like, even when I'm chilling, I look like I'm rowdy. You know what I'm saying? Just because I'm big and black. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, and I was like, I completely understand that. I wouldn't, if I'm going to a protest, I'm going to go to capture the moments. I'm not going to be going to be destructive or do anything that would deteriorate my character or my image. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I'm going to hold it down for my people, and I'm going to uplift them the best way that I can. But I just feel like when it comes to the police, it's just always, I don't know what would change that narrative, because it's always been like that, always.
Okay, so racism isn't something, or this box that we find ourselves in. It isn't always something coming at us like a word, like a nigger, or something coming at us like grabbing us and holding us down. Sometimes it's an unseen, it's a psychological, it's a mental, it's an emotional way you have to manage yourself. And so freedom, sometimes it's just being able to stretch out and relax, but every time you get in your car, you have to manage yourself. And so, these are the things that I really, really want to have conversations with human beings about. So we have access. People are listening. So let's tell the truth. Now I know for a fact that I have been complicit in perpetuating this model of racism by just getting tired, saying, forget it, I'm not going to check it, I'm not going to check, or, oh, I've given up hope, or I smile when I really wanted to say, the hell with you, or I did something to suppress myself. So I have been over the years complicit in little tiny ways. And so I've helped facilitate white fragility and all the rest of these things. But, I guess a few years ago, I took a stand. I took a stand as a leader to end racism and to end it first in my relationships with white people, with white women, particularly since they're my closest, they're close to me as friends, and talk to them about their privilege. And I have some real good friends. I talked to one of them. They said, "Oh, I don't have privilege." And one other would say, "Rochelle, just listen." So I appreciate that, and I appreciate this moment. And I hope that we use this moment and have big ears and stretch this moment into a paradigm shift where there's equity and justice for all human beings. So kind of just share some things that maybe you've been suppressing or you have not been telling the truth full out about, and how do you feel about all of the violence and all of the executions that you've been seeing lately? And if you have children, have sons, what do you tell them about right now?
Honestly, go ahead, Maxie.
Well, Satori, one of the things that always bothered me was how we talk about the civil rights movement like it was a thing of the past. We talk about it, it referred to the 60s and so on, like it was a thing of the past. And I've always felt like it's never stopped. But when we see what's going on now, it's like it went into sleep mode and it came back awake again. And I don't know what it is to this day about the murder of George Floyd that reignited it the way that it has, because quite a few other murders prior to George Floyd's murder were just as heinous, in my opinion. But it's something about this one that brought the activism back to life. And one thing that's positive is that the needle is actually moving a little bit further in a direction that people have been trying to push it for so many decades, so many centuries, actually. But the thing about it is that it never really actually stops. It is always continuous. And it's, when you talked about being complicit, it is all of our jobs to continue to push the needle everywhere we are and in everything we do and everyone we talk to. But like you said, we get tired. And so you just kind of want to live just like everyone else is living. And you don't want to fight this fight day in and day out. So, sometimes I feel guilty about it myself.
Yeah. Eric?
So, as most people know about me, I am constantly fighting. If you follow me on the internet, I am fighting and educating and fighting all the time. I like to explain systems this way, and I'm glad that you brought this up. So I explain being in the system of oppression is like being on a raft in a river. It doesn't matter where in the raft you are, the current is carrying you. So no matter how good you are, if you're at the front of the raft or the back of the raft, you're still going with the current. That current is systemic racism. You can be the best, most honorable Black in the universe, but if you are perpetuating the systems, then unfortunately you are perpetuating a system that's holding people down. If you are a very wealthy Black capitalist, then unfortunately you are reaping those benefits at the behest and to the detriment of other poor Black people and Native people and other people. It's a really challenging thing to understand. That is, while you are benefiting from a racist system, that racist system is harming someone else. And the worst part about it is that they will use you as justification to harm others. Oh, well, Eric made it, Maxie made it, Uncle Tay made it, why can't you make it? I wrote an article one day that said, "Dear America, I'm not your excuse. Do not use me as a weapon against other people that did not make it. Because I have done something exceptional does not mean other people should have to work as hard as me." I had a meeting with Mayor Duggins maybe some years back, and he goes, "What can we do to make America better for millennials?" And I remember going, "I'm working too damn hard to not have nearly enough. I should not have to be a graphic designer, a writer, a public speaker, a graphic designer, a mathematician, a business owner, an entrepreneur, and all this other stuff just to make it to the middle." Right? And that's what it's like being Black. You're like an octopus and you're doing everything, And still they're going to come in and they're going to tell you, well, I'm glad they gave you some affirmative action. They'll still chop you at the knees as if you're some type of diversity hire. What Kevin Gates say, I don't really get tired. I'm going to argue with these people. I'm going to argue with you in executive leadership offices. And honestly, truly, I will lose my job for this shit. Somebody told me, my last little anecdote. I was talking on about something on the internet, probably against, LGBTQ hate and all that kind of stuff. And somebody slides in my DMs and says, hey, I used to work for the government, and I want to let you know that you're a government employee before anything else. I'd be damned if I was ever an employee of anything before anything else. I am a Black man before anything else, because the police aren't gonna, I was in those protests that most people didn't go to. I almost got tear gassed by the riot police. I had to step out the way. They did not see a city employee when I was out there with those protesters. They didn't see a nice light-skinned dude with glasses. They saw a protester that they were about to tear gas and beat. And as long as I am that person, I will fight like I'm that person, no matter what socioeconomic strata that I'm in at the time. Which is probably why I'm moving up the strata a little bit slower than I probably would be. But hell, y'all gonna make this work. That's where I'm at.
Well, thank you for being out there with the rest of the protesters and keeping yourself safe with a mask on. We appreciate the youth out there beating the streets. I was a Black Panther in the 60s and 70s, so I did my time. My mother told me, you got to stop being a Black Panther, because when the bullets hit that center on Mack Avenue in St. G, she said, you're not being no Black Panther, you better come on home. So I had to say goodbye to Black Panther, but wanting to be free, wanting to progress, because I love the search, the growth, the movement forward. And so I want to see a world that works for everyone and leaves nobody behind. So we've lost a lot of people during COVID. It was just amazing, the people that we were losing. And I thank Marsha Music for doing a sort of a eulogy or acknowledgement of all the names. And we were particularly hit hard here in Detroit because we have a great number of African-American people, obviously with pre-existing conditions. But I often think, what are we going to do after COVID when we miss these people? We've lost traditions. We've lost celebrations. There's births and marriages. Andrea Daniels, congratulations on getting married in 8 days. Births and deaths, and we've had to reimagine rituals and the way we're going to see graduations or having drive-by funerals and services. So what is the impact when a Black man who was there and making a difference, whether it was in their family, in the community, or globally? What is it there when a swath is just wiped out? What does the world look like? Do we have to step up? Do we have to take on what they were teaching us and imparting to us?
So I guess I can jump in. A lot of people know how close I was to Marlo Stoudemire, who passed at the beginning of all of this stuff from COVID-19. Really the first death, I think, that rocked the community, and it was just a session after Marlo. And I've learned a lot from Marlo, and that was to fearlessly fight for the people coming up behind you, whether they're 10 years behind you or 2 years behind you. He's always been somebody who's willing to fight for me when I'm not in the room. And so the thing that I want to carry is that no matter when somebody doesn't know your tribe, it's your job to fight for them even when they're not in the room. And you don't need credit for that fight. You just need to make sure that you're creating space for others to follow you. I probably think about Marlo every day, and I'm not really emotional and touchy-feely like that. But there is a hole that is created from a person, because the strength of a Black man who's doing what he's supposed to be doing is something that creates seismic ripples. And so when you see somebody like Marlo, who was able to represent us in the streets, he was able to represent us in the boardroom, he was able to represent us, and he always adhered to his actual identity. It wasn't for play, it wasn't a game. He never switched back and forth. It was like, this is a man you want to be like. Even when he got real arrogant, you were like, this dude is wilding. It still made you feel seen. And what our Black youth need to see is someone that makes it feel like they could be in that person's shoes. And so I think the loss that you experience when somebody like that is missing is that you no longer see yourself in those spaces because there's so few of us in those spaces. That's why we have to do a better job of taking up more space and being more apparent. We've learned to be humble, but I think teaching Black men to be humble was a sleight of hand move to suppress that level of charm, that level of energy, that level of charisma that always excels when they get into those spaces.
You know what? I'm gonna add on to that, Satori, if you don't mind for a second.
Please, please.
I didn't know Marlo as well as everyone else. I met him in several spaces and knew him to a certain extent. I'm gonna tell a quick story. We were doing a project at DTE in the community, and we had a community meeting. And I ran into Marlo there. I'd met him before, but I ran into that meeting, and he raised an issue that he felt was important about the project we were undertaking that we needed to take a look at. It wasn't even DTE's responsibility. Wasn't our role, wasn't our lane. We had no business there, but he raised that issue and made it such a point that somebody needed to address it. Our company actually took that issue on and addressed it. And so I just want to just offer that just because Eric brought up Marlo. That's the type of individual that I knew him to be. He's standing up for his community. It was the right thing to do. And he pushed us in that direction, even though it wasn't our work and it wasn't our space, because he spoke up, he was there advocating for the community. We ended up moving in a direction we may not have otherwise. So I just really want to salute him and his family. I know we can't, we couldn't have a proper funeral and burial for him, but I just wanted them to know from someone who met him in my work in the community, he was that type of individual. We lost a really good one.
Yeah, so it's real important that Black men be counted in the census. The website is my2020census.gov. And Jacob, can you just say a little bit about how much time it takes to fill out the form, the resources? Just what is, if a Black man is counted in the census, what kind, that's activism, isn't that a vote? Absolutely.
So first and foremost, the census is an important act that's taken every 10 years here in this country and mandated by the Constitution. And it's a small act, but very important act. You know, it ensures that everyone who's in the country is counted, and that anytime that we have resources that need to be allocated, like right now, we're in the middle of a pandemic. And a lot of folks may not realize resources that came related to the pandemic came based on the census count. So individuals who didn't complete that or who did, that's how the resources came down. So what I tell people, first of all, it's a very short survey, 10 minutes or less. Mine took me about 6, I timed myself. And that's me reading through and making sure I did it properly. But it's a very short act, but a very powerful act. You know, if you really want to be involved in civic engagement, and right now there's a lot going on and we all have to do our part, but the census is one of those critical pieces that you have to do. You have to be counted. And we want everyone to be counted, including Black men. And I understand why some may have apprehension about that, but don't let that stop you now. Right now, the world is looking at us for a number of reasons, whether it's the protests, COVID, they're looking directly at Black men. We have to do our part. We can take on all the other obstacles as well, but we have to take care of home. And taking care of home right now means completing the census and also talking to people like us and have them complete the census. Nobody can talk to a brother like we can. And so all of these folks in our network, we have to complete the census, but we have to talk to them about completing the census too.
Okay, and the website again?
The website.
My census 2020.
My2020census.gov. My2020census.gov. All right, so let's take some questions from the folks in the Zoom room. Let's hear some comments. What do you guys got to say? What's going on there in the Zoom room?
Well, believe it or not, people are quiet. I don't know if they're caught up in the information that you're doing, the stories that you're telling, but yeah, not a lot of action.
Ask some questions.
A couple of people.
Okay.
I froze. Okay. A couple of people have sent some of you guys individual notes.
Oh, okay. I can't see it.
Yeah, right. So those I can't respond to, but I will say
there's some comments I see that Pam Breigel, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Pam, but Pam says being educated. she's being enlightened. And so they're listening. So until they have some questions, let's just keep.
Yeah, they're listening, right? Because a few people, Juanita Green, hi Juanita. Juanita wants everybody to know that she's a virgin.
Oh, she's a virgin.
Yeah, we got a
All right,
virgin.
gentlemen.
She ain't no more. She ain't no more.
Welcome.
That's
Welcome.
right, that's right, that's right.
And Maxie, you're getting a lot of kudos from folks. They loved your story. Pam was one, and of course, Jacob kicked in for you. But yeah, just a few. Everybody's listening. I love it.
Can I say something about the census? Because at the city, a lot of my job is census. And I've been talking to a lot of people about the census. Then I've been on the count committee since like last year. So there's like a conspiracy going around about the census. And I like to talk to the conspiracy folks because I like just picking on them. But the same conspiracy that's happening with the census is the same conspiracy that's happening with voting. And so I want to talk to that directly, which is that this doesn't matter. I would like to propose an alternative model of thought here. Have you considered that if you don't get counted, they can legally not allocate you funds? You see, the secret is if you do not engage, they can get off the hook with not supporting you. So you are, as my mom calls it, chopping off your nose to spite yourself, your face. What you do is you give people an excuse to not give you the things that you need. And so if you do your census, you can ask specifically for the funds you are owed. If you vote, you can ask specifically for the people who you voted for to do things. But if you don't, then you become a reason why, if you've ever run a political campaign, they say, we don't go after Black men, we don't go after young people because they do not vote. So they don't speak to you, they don't talk to you, they don't canvass with you, and they do not care about your concerns because you haven't elevated that voice. At some point, everyone's always talking about, we need to go into the senior facilities and talk to all the Black women over 55. That's who they want to talk to because those people vote. And those people fill out their census. Mm-hmm. In order to create tension and density around the things that we care about, it's our job to elevate that voice so we become substantial and we become impactful for the powers that be. And so that's something I always like to get in there and just talk about because it is almost a self-perpetuating and self-fulfilling prophecy. If you don't do it, then it doesn't come. If it doesn't come, then you don't do it. You have to reverse that cycle.
Yeah, but you know, black men do have some very legitimate fears, real or imagined, about being on lists, governmental lists. And Jacob was talking, we were talking the other day, and he was talking about going to the barber shops and hearing the concerns. So what are some of the concerns that you can share with us that maybe some of the Black men out there or people who are listening who know Black men can say, you know, I know you have this concern, but let me address it. Let me alleviate that concern for you and go be counted and have those resources, that money, that health care coming to your community and to your family.
So Tori, you could get me in trouble.
Huh?
So me and Lante, and I want to let Lante jump in, but we did go to the barbershop and we talked to the brotherhood. And so what happens at the barbershop, we try to keep it the barbershop. So
you don't have to use names, just concerns.
I'm going to be very pointed, but there is this concern that the government's watching. You know, government, quite frankly, speaking broadly, has not been a friend of Black men. You know, I've had my own experiences and I've worked to overcome those, but I understand the sentiment. But we spend a lot of time talking one-on-one with gentlemen, explaining to them, hey, this is important, you need to do this. And I think it's going to take a little bit more of that, but I completely understand the sentiment. If government has mistreated you and you've come from a community that's not whole and it's lacking resources and no one's really demonstrated in a meaningful way that they care about you, I can completely understand that sentiment. However, to what Eric said, I mean, as you learn more and you get yourself educated about how this system works and how things actually work, you got to take that responsibility to heart. Voting and completing the census are just two of the basic building blocks. I heard a politician say to a group, and this was a Black man, I think he was out of New York, he was running for office, and he told folks in the crowd, if you don't vote, you don't complete the census, quite frankly, you don't exist to me. And so what Eric said is very true. If you don't put me in a position that I can help you by completing the census and registering to vote, then I don't have to necessarily respond to your demands. But if you do that, then you can put a demand on me and you can put a demand on the government, which you should, So those resources come back to the community that we desperately need. We need every dollar that is owed to the state of Michigan, to the city of Detroit, to come here for job training, for schools, roads, all the things that we value and need in our community, especially during this time as we're trying to come back from this pandemic. And we were already on the comeback coming out of bankruptcy. We need every nickel in the city of Detroit to come here. And the only way to do that and ensure that, one way, is the census.
Now, if someone signs up for the census and they pass in within that 5 years, are they still counted? If they pass within that 10-year period, will those resources still come over that 10-year period?
The census doesn't know that they passed away, right? They're still counted until they don't count anymore, right?
Until they count again.
They count again.
Until they count again, right?
And there's another thing that I learned, that if a lot of Black men are targeted and are incarcerated and for long periods of time. So when a Black man is incarcerated, are they counted in their community or counted in the community that prison or that jail is? I guess I'm asking Jacob because he's the
So the short answer is, people, particularly when it comes to incarcerated, they're counted where they're incarcerated, unfortunately. So when Black men are placed in the system and incarcerated in jail, they count in that area. There's an interesting story that I'll share really quick, and this is about a jail in Mississippi. And there were some changes in sentencing, some other things that happened, and the level of the population of the prison actually decreased. And the question people asked was, what are we going to do about jobs? Well, wait a minute. And these were people who worked in the system. And I was just a little bit taken back. That was their perspective. They were more concerned about the men being in jail so they can have employment, rather than Black men actually being free and able to go back out and contribute in society. But the short answer to your question, they're incarcerated where they are. And so what I really appreciate in the community is the work that's being done, that when these brothers come home, that we have a place for them. And we want them to count. We need them back in the community. We need them back and employed. We need them back with their families. And so right now, the short answer, they're counted where they're incarcerated, but we need them back home. We need them contributing to the community.
Yes, thank you.
Juanita asked an interesting question on the chat.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead and answer, Maxie.
Well, why don't I just read it to everybody?
Okay.
How can prominent and influential Black men foster peace in the protests in places like Atlanta, where police are calling off duty in support of the officers arrested for Rayshard Brooks's murder? How can you help our people demonstrate that we can have crime-free communities with self-governance? I read the question.
Okay. Okay.
Somebody pick it up.
Eric, you studied systems.
Okay, so here's the thing, and it's funny because I'm about to drop an angry ass video about defunding the police, because defund them. But okay, so let's get into the two parts of this. Part one, protests don't have to be peaceful. Forgive me for being the bad guy, right? We've been asking, every time we ask calmly, people don't hear us, right? We had a Civil Rights Act that was passed in '64, but we didn't get actual teeth in the Civil Rights Act until the uprisings of '67. And then in '68, we put actual teeth in the Civil Rights Act. People keep forgetting that's a thing happened. Same way with the Emancipation Proclamation happened. Then there was a 2-year gap. Then the Union Army showed up, and then we freed the slaves, right? Like, people are not just giving away rights. You don't give away rights. Rights are taken, right? To your question, why did it require all of this stuff going on? Please believe they would not have changed the name of Aunt Jemima if they wouldn't have burned down a Target, right? Like, people were like, wait a second, this is really deep. And I know that makes me the bad guy, and I'm supposed to be like the nice government employee dude, but come on, sometimes you just got to let people know that you're serious. But to this idea of self-governance, we have been trained to believe that public safety and police are synonymous, that they are the same thing. If things are not safe, we need more police. But that's not necessarily true. Why does a guy have to show up with a gun if there's a noise complaint? Why is there a guy with a gun showing up to a speeding violation? You know, there are lots of people that deal with people with mental health issues and substance abuse issues without killing them. Nurses, security, you know, all of this. We have an infrastructure of support, doctors, deacons, right? There's an infrastructure of support that know how to talk someone down. But right now, the only thing we send is a person with a gun. There's I forget, and forgive me, I forget the name of this particular organization, but they looked into force, use of force in police departments and what their rules are on those things, what their protocols are. Out of 100 police precincts, only 44 of them even had de-escalation as something that they had to do, which means 54 of these precincts do not have to de-escalate if someone was having a mental breakdown or an overdose or some other type of challenge. I had a guy, true story, I had a guy kick his way into my house one day because he was tripping on some type of drug. I woke up at 6 in the morning with a naked man in my living room. Okay? This is true. This is true. I wake up, I say, yo, what's going on? This dude goes, oh my God, I'm sorry, and just runs out. Now, if I would have had a gun, I might have killed that dude, right? Because I don't know what's going on and I'm not de-escalating. You need different types of public safety infrastructures to deal with different types of things. And so when we talk about what do we, Black men, have to do, the first thing we have to understand is that there are levels to public safety. There are places you invest, whether that is into therapy, community engagement, social support, structures around education, but also, does a police officer need to have a partner that's another police officer, or could a police officer be partnered with a social worker, right? Who can we partner people with that looks like the community, that can engage with them in a way where there is not only trust, but de-escalation training and conversation that makes people feel safe? Because no matter what you say to me about this person in suit, that person is still holding a gun, and this stuff can get real greasy real fast. So
well, it sounds like you should run for something at some point. But we have come to the end of our show. So I have a lot of people to thank. But first, I want to thank our fabulous panel of storytellers. Jacob R. Walker from DTE Foundation, our featured storyteller, Maxie Jones, Eric Thomas, chief storyteller for the city of Detroit, and Maxie Jones and Alante Steele, Uncle Tay, who's doing great work in the community with the young people. So thank you so much for being here. I also have a long list of people to thank. First of all, I want to thank, I said DTE Foundation, the Detroit Free Press, for that badass spread they did. That was so wonderful. Julie Hines, you can write. Kimberly Mitchell, thank you for that photo, and Nicole Avery, Desiree Cooper, Cassandra Spratling, Juanita Moore, the Detroit Public Theater, Sarah Winkler over there, the Debrief podcast with Seth Resler and Becky Scarcello, Detroit Public Television, Rich Homburg and Mary Ellen Chenoweth, One Detroit, American Black Journal, and thank you, Stephen Henderson. Kresge Arts in Detroit, Don Wellman, Prima Kadir, Monica Morgan, Mike Rott, Tony Motley, Jenny Della O, Brian Mansour, Stacy Hot Wax Hale and her crew, Haru House and Daryl G, Tim O.T. from the Relationship Talk Show, our board of directors, Don Wellman, Vita Sherman, Cheryl James, Cheryl Johnson, and Tisha Hammond, and everyone out there in the Zoom room and everywhere around the world watching right now, and everyone who shared about our event and spread the word. Happy Juneteenth, America. See you at our next show. Pent Up. Get your stories in for Pent Up. Monica told you how. Just go to the website if you forgot. Make your donation at twistedtellers.org. Sign up at my2020census.gov. Good night, everybody. What?
Be counted.
Be counted, yes. Thank you again, Alante Steele, Jacob Walker, Eric Thomas, Maxie Jones, Cheryl James, Monica, Stacy, and everybody else in the world. Good night, and thank you for watching. Thank you, everybody.
All right, all right, all right.